Hello everyone, so this was posted in the Singularity subreddit about a day ago and it got a crazy amount of engagement, 637 comments and nearly 3,000 likes. And to be honest, I thought it looked quite interesting, so I just wanted to see what people were saying and read the post. So let's get into it. So the reason why everyone is excited for DeepSeek and China right now, so that's the title. So I'm one of the people who has been glazing, in quotation marks, DeepSeek on the sub. I've been accused of being a CCP bot or a Chinese slave laborer. You do get... I don't know about you guys, but I find like anything related to China on Reddit always seems to be propaganda one way or another. It's like either pro propaganda or against propaganda. I find it difficult to find anything that's in between, but maybe that's just me. So, but here's the real reason I'm excited about DeepSeek and everyone else in AI, in the AI world seems to be as well. True, I've heard a lot of people talking about this. I've still not used it. I actually made an account on what they. I've not used the the local one, so the open source one, but I did use the one that you can sort of pay to use, but I've not got around to it. Anyway, despite Chinese models being censored, they're still open source, which means someone could replicate and create uncensored models with it. Yeah, this is. Does this? I guess they could feed additional data, but I guess it would be pre-trained. I'm not quite sure how this works. I'm not a data guy, but yeah. Basically, they are giving away the knowledge to build these things to the entire world, ensuring that no one can truly build a monopoly from it. Yeah, really cool. And to be honest, you can get loads of open source models from Meta too, I believe, and just on Hugging Space, I think. So basically, the exact opposite of what American companies have been doing. I don't think this is entirely fair, but it is fair to a certain extent, that's for sure. Most of them have been. And you could argue that the only reason Meta has open sourced a lot of the stuff is because they were so behind, because they faffed around too much with the metaverse, lol. So do you really see OpenAI, Anthropic, or Google open source any of their powerful models? I don't know. I think going forward I could see it happening because I actually think the power is not in the models, but like in the infrastructure, personally. But I might be wrong. So all we've been getting from them so far is breadcrumbs. Meta's the only one who has significantly contributed, as I said, to the open source LLMs. I didn't know they said that, but yeah, that is true. But they're probably not going to open source their best models in the future. Hard to say. Meta has open sourced loads of things over the course of the last 20 years. More so, way more than any other American tech company. They've created loads of cool tools. So now we have DeepSeek being open sourced and basically being SOTA, or at least until O3 releases, and everyone is excited about it except some people in the sub who swear up and down that everyone who praises them open sourcing is a Chinese spy. You're literally rooting for a future where some American company has a monopoly on godlike AI. I really don't think this will happen. I don't. Instead, for the future where godlike AI will be owned by everyone. I think it will be owned by everyone. I always say in my videos, I think there's going to be millions of AIs, different verticals. I don't really believe in there being like one person with all the power. Yeah, I just don't think that's going to happen because it's software, and the software community has always been one of the best communities, I think, in terms of sharing information and tools. Just like because things like GitHub exist, the fact that there is an open source community and it's massive and it's been part of this sort of culture for a long, long time. So yeah, and there's lots of already great tools open source. Anyway, so yeah, what Likan said, I don't know who that is, sorry, said about this was right. It's not about China catching up to the US, it's more about open source catching up to closed source. Yeah, I agree. No moat. I thought I was going to have something to add to this, but I didn't. So I just left it. So the best part about it is how it lights a fire under OpenAI. This, not just OpenAI, but all of the commercial ones. This is true. I do think it's all a race to the bottom. If you think about it, all these models are constantly trying to get cheaper, right? They're figuring out how to make the hardware better to make it cheaper, how to make the models more efficient to make it cheaper. Everything's about being cheaper, so everything is a race to the bottom. Which is good for us. It's sort of like yeah, it's like I think a bit with Tesla, like trying to become big in batteries rather than cars. They probably know that their cars are eventually not going to be as good as other cars, but Elon built that gigafactory. Um, so I agree 100%. You expect more people in the AI sub to think this way, but they're still blinded by nationalism. I'm not from China or the US. I'll praise whoever open sources their models, certain models, and currently China's doing that. People acting like they're billionaires themselves and that China's push to introduce common prosperity would be a negative for them. This open source release is literally just China throwing a bone to all the tier 2 countries that were going to have to compute limits placed upon them by the US. I can't speak on that. I have no idea. I would say is don't go thinking that, we've already established that it's not only China that are open sourcing their models. Maybe for different reasons, but there is great open source models already, and people are constantly putting them on GitHub. Let's see. Excited because it will make other AI businesses get their finger out. Llama 4.0 will be a large step forward, I think. Meta with their data centers won't allow themselves to be outdone by a company with $5 million data center. And that's the thing. I guess you could argue Meta's in a different space, right? They've always open sourced tools because they just want the best tools for their platforms. So, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, which I don't know how many users that has, but I guess it's one of their platforms. So yeah, most of their tools are open sourced. Most of us outside of the USA don't care where our AI comes from. No one ever cares where, if you like something, then people would tend to not care where it comes from if it's good. If the USA AI corps can compete with open source AI, let them. If they can't, okay, see ya. The point of open weight open source is that any corp can pick this up and provide AI as a service to customers for a few million euro in inference-related hardware. Yeah, the real money is in the hardware. We already know that with how Nvidia's been doing. Meta's the only one who significantly contributed to open source. Did they say this, or are you just guessing? Yeah, their whole strategy is to make sure they don't get trapped again like they did by Apple's closed platforms. Meta's the only one who has significantly contributed to the open source LLMs, but they're probably not going to open source their best models in the future. Yeah, I think they will continue. I don't know what I said. I'm pretty sure I think they'll probably continue to do so as well. They always have. Common as Meta, I think OP is correct. See, this is the sort of stuff I mean. This is a bias as well, But anyway, I don't want to get into that. Nobody had a problem with hundreds of Chinese models until they started beating the American companies that people have lots of money riding on. This is probably true. It always comes down to money. But someone has to... These companies do need a lot of money, though, to train these models, I guess. Yeah, they're all already ablated. And, I got 4 models. 1.5, 7, 14, and 32 local, and they're all fine. No weird censorship. Several people have been insisting the base model is uncensored already. That wouldn't surprise me, and then you can sort of add censorship on top of it. It's only some versions or something. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's see. Chinese censorship isn't very comprehensive in reality. Chinese censors have been described to me as the laziest, least committed public servant you can imagine, going through the motions for a safe, decently paying job. They mostly move through user reports when they're overwhelming in number that necessarily report campaigns, blah blah blah. In reality, they probably overtuned the 4 questions that censor were most likely to ask and foregoed everything else. I don't know about that. I'm excited about DeepSeek for a different reason than you. I'm excited because it's undeniable competition that will accelerate the space as a whole. Frankly, I'm not all that pumped about open source frontier level models. I think you should be. And I say this as someone who's an enormous proponent of almost any other technology being as open source as possible. I believe the risks of cyber warfare or advanced weapons development are simply too high with powerful AI systems. Thing is, you just won't be able to stop this. I think open source is good. even in this case. I understand that the vast majority of people aren't going to be using these models for malicious purposes, but it only takes a very small. There's going to be small bad actors anyway. So yeah, there's going to be bad actors. There's always going to be bad actors. Always. You just need a better counter AI. So the most important part about R1, which people are ignoring, is that essentially outlines a straight and clear path towards AGI. They used R1.0 to train R1, providing a way for AI to recursively make better new versions of itself. Yeah, so training itself on... Yeah, that's quite crazy. Hasn't reached a ceiling yet. I really wish I understood this stuff on a deeper level, but I think it's so difficult to keep up. You know, you've got a job. I've got a job as well. I try to read around the topics, but I'm more interested in it than an expert on it. I'm far from an expert on it. There's probably a lot of people in the comments know a lot more than me. So bravo. I think half of it is because people have seen nothing but articles and statements from politicians that... Well, I feel like this is just our current ecosystem. People are sort of shilling or hyping. I think there's people always hype their products, especially if they're trying to get investment. And yeah, I mean, Elon was talking about self-driving cars, what, like 8 years ago? I don't know, I can't remember top of my head. It's been a while. If we spend, you know, that hasn't happened. So I think take everything with a grain of salt. I think as time moves forward, I do think everything will become obviously very powerful. Let's see. As soon as you say something even remotely nice about China on this platform, you have 10 Americans jumping on you like an amateur football team. It's pathetic. These people might be real, but their whole brain is as rotten and mindless bots they claim to dislike. That was more sort of beside the point, I feel like. Should we do a fun sort by controversial? You know, that's what I usually do. Bit of fun. There's going to be some controversial comments when there's, 600. It's fine to be happy about open source, and what is also true is given the history of communist parties around the world, you should not want China to win the AI race. China has a rich history, and that history belongs to Taipei. But let's see. A user, but any technology used like TikTok or RedNote or R1 has to give your data to the CCP. Yeah, I feel like, I guess we probably shouldn't have gone to controversial. I feel like all of the controversial ones are just going to be on the political side here. Which, it's not really what this channel's about, to be honest. Let's see if there's any actual other points just about the tech, I guess. I think it's just one terminally online levying all the bot CCP show allegations. I'm not buying DeepSeek's story that it was developed on small amounts of capital, or that was a side project. I actually think that's a fair comment. You don't have to believe it. You can believe it, but it might not be true. But it might be true. These two statements clearly show that it's a psyop of CCP. However, credit to the Chinese that they were able to match the best models in a short period of time. It was widely expected that this century will be an American century of US making a civilizational leap using AI. US big tech took control of US politics. They did. China leads the world in robotics, and it will get massive geopolitical advantage. China's already said it wants Taiwan. I thought China get to Taiwan anyway in like 2050 or something. I might be wrong on that, so apologies. I agree with your take. Competition is good. Obviously, things can change. I agree with your take. Competition is good for everyone. That model is full open source from what I understand. Weights and code. Okay, so that answers my question at the beginning that you can sort of modify. Because I don't quite understand what sort of open source is in AI, if you will, because it's all like parameters, isn't it? So I thought, it might be open source, but it's still a pre-trained model. It's just that everyone can sort of just download it and use it. That's sort of what I thought. But if you can sort of change the weights and modify things, then that truly is really open source, and that'd be cool. I don't really know. I feel like I say that a lot, but it comes from a good place. It comes from I don't want to just say things when I'm unsure. General excitement is great, but there's undeniable campaign by China to thwart Western AI progress. Again, feels a little bit. Let's see. Half of it is because people have seen nothing but articles and statements. Okay, we read that point already. My issue with the DeepSeek glazing around here, the rest of the AI community, is not with DeepSeek glazing itself. I couldn't be happier that we now have an open source O1 competitor. But it's the weird anti-Americanisms. I do see a lot of that. Yeah. Again, it goes both ways. Like I say, it just seems to be very divisive on Reddit. Even though I admittedly am biased towards China as a Chinese person, I must say that China's open source strategy of research speed acceleration isn't 100% altruistic. Not what people are saying, of course. Cynically, I think the Chinese government will attempt to centralize control when the open source strategy does succeed. The thing is, the AI models can still be centralized just because the models are open source. It's how they're deployed and the infrastructure that's important, which is why, again, I think the software side of it is a race to the bottom. It's the infrastructure that matters. It's where those AIs are. It's the partnership. That's why Meta doesn't care. Just because AI exists doesn't mean people are going to stop. Just because all their models are open source doesn't mean people will stop caring, using Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, whatever, because people don't care. They use it. They want to use the social media. They don't care about the actual tools. And just because I have a tool, because of like network effect and stuff, you can't just create a social network and get everyone to join it. The only situation that this won't happen in is if Chinese government's determination of sector profitability leads to open source. On the same level, America's AI sector strategy of enclosure development isn't entirely reductive. I think that open source projects, despite the inherent optimism in the naming, have a risk of unfocused development and scope creep. However, I think open source, specifically with AI field, is advantageous due to the data ingestion required for quality output. It's so interesting to see how AI is being treated as both technology fit for traditional arms race between rival hegemonies, probably pronounced that wrong, or entirely new category of technology that promises to fix many of the economies or scale problems that are species. I feel like my mind went blank there. Okay, don't care about that. It's not just models, it's the infrastructure, hardware, energy requirements. America takes a step back and says, we need 10 to 20 gigawatts of power for data centers. Also, even if they gave you ASI, what are you going to do with it? Cure cancer? Yeah. They're right, it's all about the infrastructure. Linux is open source, yet 75% of run on Windows. Yeah, and to be honest, I'm on Windows. I used to just be Linux exclusively. I had too many frustrations, to be honest. I still use, I use WSL a lot, pretty much every day. Although I haven't today, actually. I haven't done any coding today. To be honest, I haven't really worked on personal projects for a while. I want to, though. God, that's taking a while. Oh, there we go. I don't know why I did that. There you go, my WSL terminal. How censored are they actually? You can use their web UI. Can you see that their web UI starts thinking about something? Yeah, you can. From the pictures I've seen, it does like the thinking bit. And during the thinking bit, you can see everything it's thinking about. It's just when the output happens, which is sort of funny. So, it would still show everything it's thinking about from what I've seen. I don't think running it local will have as much censorship. At least that's what I've heard. The same thing happens with the 14B model. So is that 14 billion parameters? I forget how. I don't actually know what the DeepSeek one is. The one that they've got online. What happened at Tiananmen Square? I don't think that's how you spell it, is it? Maybe it is. I thought it was with an A. In 1989, produces an empty think block. Same with how to make meth, and what is the most likely origin of the COVID-19 virus. Fair enough. Sure. I agree, but what worries me a bit is the cost. They made DeepSeek with 6 mil, which is insanely low. This could, yeah, this is, yeah, who knows? I don't care about this because we don't know if this is true or not, so I don't care. My understanding of Glaze is that people, yeah, I don't care about that. Welcome to America, where we vote against our own self-interests. No comment. If DeepSeek was open source, they would have shown training data. Is that a fair comment? Maybe. I don't know. What's the big deal? Persecution of it, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? I sort of get that to an extent, in the sense that, like, it's like if you know going in the system has censorship, but let's say it performs well at the tasks. If you as a user just view it as a tool, okay, then, and you know what things are censored, and you don't care about those things, it's not really a problem, right? At the end of the day, as a user, all you really care about it being open source for you, being cheap or free, obviously if it's open source, and whether it solves the problem you're trying to get it to solve. Your politics are sort of, that's beside, like, that's obviously something different, but and that's not me saying that it's good or fine. It's just saying, like, you know, you can imagine having all of, I mean, it's already the case. You have all of these different LLMs available to you, and you can just use whichever one you think is going to be best for the task you need it to be. So yeah, Meta is American, and they've been releasing open models since forever. I don't even think DeepSeek would have existed without Llama. Again, could be true, who knows? But again, you can't prove that one way or another, so a bit meaningless. ChatGPT is censored also. Ask about certain historical events. Like what? Yeah, this is the thing, they haven't actually mentioned anything. It's censored in terms of IP. Like, I don't think you would get it. I might be wrong, but I don't think you'd be able to get it to, I don't know, sing a Beyonce song or generate an image of a celebrity, stuff like that. Since it's open source, can someone just remove the censorship? That's sort of my question. Censorship is post training. Okay, so censorship is in the post training, not the code. Wait, is in the post training, not the code. So you can't just edit it out, but presumably you can find the tune model to remove it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not in the code, obviously. The code, yeah. Wouldn't the danger in this be that criminals or terrorists would be able to have access to... That's going to happen anyway. Any model that's MIT licensed is an amazing opportunity. Anyway, I think, like, we've probably gone on here for too long. DeepSeek is a monster. I made 5 working apps in 5 hours using just my phone. ExpoGo lets you test your apps on the phone that are using React.js. Also made an AI generator that uses Gemini free thinking model API. Thank you for putting the word glazing in quotation marks. Anyway, I think we'll leave it there. Let me know your thoughts below on all of this. And yeah, thanks for watching.